only 16 and it really gave them life. I want them home, I want them free, and I want that shit tonight. This shit crazy, they get off, and they give my people life. Now I'm strapped in with a vision, yeah, it's fuck all politicians. They get on in all these murders, fuck that.
Henry Boy King 389, code 2 internet 3140.
L48, show me code 6.
We said Black Lives Matter. Never said only Black Lives Matter. We know all lives matter. We just need your help with Black Lives Matter. But why they talking just so much? And we don't hear nothing about Sandra. We just only want the real. Only just wanting that, watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but her nephew can't just tickle. How the police act like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, Hunt to stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray. They racing to the clock. I can't believe they killed Eric in the middle of the streets. NYC, now it's Minnesota. The shit they get for free. They getting me, they getting you. Man, they getting us for cheap. We done lost blood to these jails, and we got them 6 feet deep. Remember Philando Castile? Man, it's getting deep. Just remember that he's still underground. R.I.P. Yeah, they still whipping our ass like this shit was slavery. That's why I'm running like Malcolm, because Martin, he wanted peace. And the visions that I'm having, man, this shit ain't come for cheap. And every day I'm waking up, I'm trying to be a greater me. And I can see these other people having changes in their thoughts. So we point the guns in our direction, the changes in our hearts. But we watch that man bag boys like shit on them streets. And we going against each other, man, that shit be looking weak. Got Chicago killing California, Philadelphia, can't forget Baltimore, the shit is looking out of order. Unforgivable losses, unforgivable chances, unforgivable business, unforgivable answers. Forever know we gon' feel it, forever know we be damaged. And let you refuse to stand, I swear we won't manage. Why they talking just so much? And we don't hear nothing about Sandra, we just only want the real. Only just wanting that, watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but her nephew can't go. How the police act like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, Hunt to stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray. They racing to the clock. Michael Brown would have been here. Should have went straight to that store, and then they picking on our youth. They know that we becoming more. Trayvon Martin walking down the streets. Zimmerman, you a whore. Aubrey family, hope you get answers and then some more. Sorry, Amy Capriori. I ain't trying to be no judge. Don't say he was only 16. It really gave him life. I want him home, I want him free, and I want that shit tonight. This shit crazy, they get off, and they give my people life. Now I'm strapped in with a vision. Yeah, it's fuck all politicians. They get on in all these murders. Fuck Donald Trump, he the villain. On the killer, I just promise I never forget your struggle. They done came into your apartment after they shot you for nothing. Minnesota, I understand. I will not tell you not to rot too many of my people that felt pain. I feel it deep inside. We go much more than 40 acres, and that's some music. Shit, stop this shit with Emmett Till, but this is what they do. Why they talking just so much? And we don't hit nothing about Sandra. We just only want the real. Only just wanting that, watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but her nephew can't just tickle. How the police act like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops.
What it do? What it do? What it do? What's going on? It's your boy Alfie D, and the place to be, and the place to be is Street Talk Podcast. How you doing today? Miss Lemon, how you feel?
I'm feeling well. How are you?
Doing great. How was your week?
It was great. It was
great. It was great. How's everybody out there doing today? There we go. There we go. Sound a little bit better. So how's it going today? So what we going to dive into this week?
So this week, as promised, we're going to talk about the credit and financing piece of the home buying purchase.
I got a special guest to keep on trying to get on camera. My dog keep walking around, keep trying to get on camera.
My dog is right. It seems like I don't know what day you're on today. Maybe it's something in their dimension that we don't know about.
Exactly. Must got some real good ears.
I don't know what's going on.
So come on, let's dive into it. I know we started a little late today, but had a little technical difficulties out on this Comcast, man, with this internet that everything keep on slowing down.
We did get a few complaints last week about the internet, but all in all, we got some really good feedback. So bear with us, please, everybody who just bear with us in the technical difficulties. I don't know what it is, but we'll get it together.
Exactly. Somebody, that's what it is. It's them people that don't want us to get that real estate word out here. That's what it is. They trying to keep, it's the Renters Association. Yeah.
So, every week I like to introduce myself again for the people who are on and will watch that hasn't watched previously. So, my name is Dawn Lemon. I am an agent with Realty One Group Universal. This week, the topic that we'll cover is credit and financing, the roadmap to what it will take to get you to a pre-approval table for your home buying process and your home buying process, which is pretty much the most important piece of the process. So we'll get right in. I have another slide for us this week that we can kind of go by. It's longer than the one last week, so I'll go through it. And any questions that anyone might have, Alfie, you have to let me know, because once I pull up my presentation, I can't see, if there's a question or anything like that. So just let me know.
I got you. Let me turn chats on.
All right, let me know that you can see it once I pull it up.
All right.
Is it there?
No, not yet. Let's see. Screen. Start it up. No, I
All
don't
right,
see it.
so it should be now. Can you see it?
Yep, there we go.
Okay. So we'll start off with the number one question that everyone ultimately has. Am I ready to buy a home? What does it take financially in order for me to purchase a home? So, of course, any lender will look at whether or not you have steady income, a low to medium debt to income ratio, money saved up for your down payment and closing costs. In addition to that, in order to verify this information, the lender will require 2 months of pay stubs and bank statements, 2 years with the same company or in the same industry, and also it would be 2 years worth of your W-2s. If you are a W-9 or self-employed person, it would pretty much, the pay stubs would be not a part of it. The bank statements you would have to produce more of, and the W-2s you definitely have to provide 2 years of. So it becomes challenging for some self-employed individuals who in the past, they typically do a lot of write-offs. So if you are self-employed and considering buying a home, the lender is going to ask you to hold off on the write-offs. So you need to show some type of income on your W-2s. So if you're looking to afford a house in a certain price range, you definitely need to make sure that your income reflects that on your W-2s. You can't have your income showing that you made $10,000 or $20,000 and think that you can afford a $300,000 home just because your company is making money, but you're writing off the majority of your income. So just keep that in mind. So getting pre-approved. You choose a lender. Every single home buyer out there has the option to choose a lender. Do not allow any lender to make you feel like you have to go with them. You need to be educated enough to understand what the different rates are and use them when comparing and when selecting your lender to find out and make sure that you're getting the best rate that's out there. And also you have to make sure that the lender that you're working with definitely matches who you are as a person. You have some lenders that are very, they're very hands off. They prefer to text when it comes to communication. If you're a person who prefers communicating other ways, you might want to look at a lender who pretty much matches who you are, your personality, your lifestyle, etc. That's very important. The same way I tell anybody when it comes to choosing an agent and anyone else who you have to work with through your entire home purchasing, your transaction when it comes to your home purchase. Once you choose a lender, that lender will ask you to fill out a loan application. Your loan application is what asks you all of your background information. They will also require the documents that I previously mentioned, your pay stubs, your bank statements, your tax returns. They'll also verify your employment by reaching out to your actual employer. And they will also look at your employer credit report. Your credit report, as I mentioned previously, your credit report should be your credit score should be no lower than 620 right now. The higher your credit score, the better your rate will be in your home and when you finance your home. And as I mentioned, the rate is what's most important. So just a few credit tidbits. When you are considering buying a home, You always want to make sure that you have low credit card utilization. That means that your credit card is not maxed out. Low credit card utilization, lenders typically like to see 30% or less. So 30% of what your overall credit limit is should be used. You shouldn't be using, if your credit limit is $1,000, it shouldn't be maxed out to $800. It should be, at least $300 or less that you're carrying as a balance on that credit card. So try to make sure that you keep your credit utilization low when you are considering purchasing a home. On-time payments is the most important thing. Even for those who have little credit, if you just got a credit card, they want to see a credit on-time payment history. So if you had the credit card for 6 months, 7 months, you have to show and reflect on-time payments for the entire duration that you've had that credit card. On-time payments carry like a 30% weight when they're looking at whether or not you can qualify for a home, and that's pretty substantial. 30% out of 100 is a pretty big piece of what they're looking at. So make sure that on time, not only when it comes to credit cards, but when it comes to anything that's on your credit, card payment, credit cards, any home that you may own now, anything that's on your credit, make sure that you're paying your bills on time. Make sure that you don't make any large purchases during a home buying process. If you are in the middle of buying a home and you decide that you want to buy a new car, not that you need to, but that you want to, try to hold off on making that purchase until after you go to settlement. If you get pre-approved, you're in the process of buying a home, your application is in underwriting, you have a settlement date, and you decide, okay, I go to settlement on March 31st, so let me go and get me some furniture for my home. Finance it? Absolutely not. Wait until you go to settlement to go and get your new furniture. So just make sure you do not make any large purchases. Try to keep everything consistent. What's going on in, what's going out. What's coming in versus what's going out. Try to keep everything consistent during this time frame. A higher credit score, as I mentioned, brings you better terms on your loan. So the higher your credit score is, the lower your interest rate may be. So definitely keep that in mind. So work on getting your credit score as high as you can. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't buy a home. And right now, interest rates are at an all-time low. So they have went up in the last few weeks, but they're still really low. So they're like in the low threes right now. So still just keep in mind that if you want the better rate, you definitely want to make sure that your credit score is high. And again, it doesn't mean that you'll have an astronomical interest rate just because your credit score is not high, but try to keep that in mind. Number 5, make sure that there are no NSFs on your bank statements. Okay, so they absolutely look at that. So make sure that your bank account does not go into the negative at any time during the home buying process before you buy a home in that particular year, because your bank statement, the NSFs go away every year. So just say, for instance, it's November, you get an NSF. January is right around the corner. You might want to wait until January to apply for financing, because the lender is going to look at your NSFs. So make sure that you do not have any on your bank account whatsoever. As I mentioned, number 6 would be careful of any tax write-offs. So again, for my self-employed people out there that are looking to purchase a home, make sure you are aware of your write-offs. Avoid taking the high road. So just say, for instance, you have like maybe 1 or 2 things on your credit that might not qualify you or might affect you being pre-approved for a home loan. Don't go to Mr. Fix-It around the corner and pay him $500 to get it off your credit, because the thing about that is you never know how long that item will be removed from your credit. So Mr. Fix-It may be able to get it off your credit for, just say, for instance, 90 days. It takes you 6 months to find a home. Before you know it, that item is back on your credit, and now you can't move forward with your home buying purchase. So instead of taking the $500 or whatever money to pay Mr. Fix-It, it's best that you just actually make arrangements to pay it off on your own, because lenders will consider if you're making payments regularly on a delinquent account, they will still consider your application and you might be able to get an approval still under those circumstances. So never take the high road. Less is better. So as I mentioned, low debt is always going to be best. Now, if you already have a car, you've had it for a year or two, you've been paying your payments on time, that won't affect you as much as going out today to get a new car, knowing that you're in the process of buying a home. That substantially that changes every excuse me, that changes everything in the lending process. So you definitely want to stay away from incurring any new debt during this process when you're applying for financing, or you know that you will be applying for financing. Take these things all into consideration when making the decision to move forward with applying for financing and purchasing your home. So there are three different financing options. Once you have all of that in place, there are three different financing options that are available to you. The FHA, I'm going to start there, although it's in the middle. FHA is the most popular because it requires the least down payment, typically, which is 3.5%. Mortgage insurance is required. So in a lot of situations, you pay an extra expense than you would outside of conventional financing, but then you're paying a lower down payment. So your mortgage may be a little higher with FHA, but initially to get into your home, you have to come out of pocket with less money. If that's the best way to explain that. FHA, the 600 is the minimum credit score, but most lenders will require you to have a minimum of 620. So although you may read and see in different things that 600 is the minimum credit score, lenders feel better. They are looking to protect their asset. So they are looking for a 620 minimum credit score. Conventional financing, as I mentioned, they typically require 20% down. And while there's no mortgage insurance requirement, so that means that your monthly payment may be lower. You have to pay more out of pocket out front to get into your house. Initially, they start off with the 620 credit score minimum, but again, for them, for conventional financing, your lender is definitely looking for you to have a higher credit score, like closer to the 700 to be approved for conventional financing. VA financing is for veterans and military personnel. There is no down payment required, no mortgage insurance required, and a credit score is a 620 minimum. So with VA financing, there are a lot of stipulations also that you have to, as far as the between the lender and the seller. So there are times where it may become challenging, or your settlement process may take a little longer than, say, conventional or FHA. But it's definitely beneficial, and it's something that you want to check into to find out whether or not you qualify if you've ever been a part of the military or you are a veteran. Do we have any questions, Alfie?
I don't see any. No, none came up yet. When they do, I'll just hit you on the chat.
Okay, no problem. Alrighty, so down payment and closing costs. Another tidbit of information is any money that you anticipate using for your down payment or your closing costs. We always recommend that these funds are available in your bank account at least 30 days prior to your loan application. Reason being is any large deposits that you make into your bank account during the application process, you have to account for. So they're going to want to see documentation, where this money came from. If it's a check, you have to provide the actual check. If it's a gift from somebody, then you have to go through the whole gifting process, which is an entirely different process. They have to verify that the account that the money came from, who wrote the check or gave you the money. It's a totally separate verification process. And if you're not expecting it, it can complicate things and delay things. So not saying that you can't accept a gift, but it's always going to be best that any money that you intend on using for your home buying process, try to make sure that it's in your account already when you start your application, so that you don't have to answer any questions about it. And since they're only asking for bank statements, 30 days worth of pay stubs, I think your last two bank statements, just make sure that that money is there before like outside of that time period, outside of whatever time period that you have to provide the documentation for, so that you don't have to provide any additional documentation in terms of where this money came from. In terms of grants that are available to you if you're purchasing in Baltimore City and County, your lender will provide you eligibility information to apply to any purchase. So if you're looking to purchase in Baltimore County, there are different grant programs than it is from Baltimore City based on your income, etc. Your lender will let you know what you qualify for. Most grant programs will require you to attend the home buying workshop. There are different nonprofit agencies that facilitate and offer the workshop. You can visit Live Baltimore, website. They have a list of all of the different agencies that provide the home buying counseling in order for you to qualify for the grants. But there are also certain lenders that offer grants outside of you having to go through any of those programs. And it makes your settlement process a lot quicker. So if you're interested in any of the grant programs, definitely take the opportunity to visit the Live Baltimore's website to find out how you can get started. You can definitely reach out to me. I'll also be willing to assist you with going in to find out who has the next class to cut your time in half, because some of them, there are 2 steps to that process. So you have to go to the actual seminar, and then you have to do a one-on-one before you can actually get your certificate. And you should not put a contract on a house until you've completed the entire process, or you won't be able to use your grant money. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely make sure that you take the opportunity to go through the course and get what you need to get your certificate before you even put a contract on a house.
All
So
right, we
again,
have
here's my contact information.
a
Go
few
ahead, I'm
questions
sorry.
right here. We
Okay.
got a few questions right here. All right. How do a lender determine credit?
The lender doesn't determine your credit score. Your credit score is already generated by the credit agencies that's out there. So all they do is just they do a soft pull initially to do your pre-approval. They give you a pre-approval where you can go out and you start looking for your house. Once you do that soft inquiry, once you find a house and you file a formal lending application, is when they do the hard pull, and then they check for your credit score. So as long as you have a minimum of 620, but then that's your credit score. They're also looking at your payment history. They're looking at your debt to income ratio, so your utilization. So these are all things that you have to make sure are in order before you actually reach out to a lender, because they will come back and tell you, okay, you have to pay some of your credit cards down. Okay, you have delinquent accounts, etc. So the lender would definitely, it's not only your credit score that they look at, but that is a major factor.
Okay, and got one other question. Um, what if it's a transferred to your account from another account you owe, i.e. business account? So I
As,
guess
as long as you can account for it, you can show, okay, I have this account, I transferred this money from this account to that account. That's one of the more simple scenarios. One of the more complicated ones, I'll use myself for an example. When I first started the home buying process, I had a full-time job, but I was also a bartender. So I was bringing in money through bartending. I'm depositing this money, but I didn't have a way to, like, these are cash tips that I'm getting. So I had pay stubs from bartending, but it complicated the process because these are cash deposits that I'm making with really nowhere to trace it back to. So I had to stop making deposits, and I just had to hold on to my money for some time. And then I had to have somebody else give me a gift, and I gave them my cash after it was all said and done, but they had to gift me the money whereas though they could account for it. And then I just gave them the cash. So it's different situations and scenarios. If you have another person giving you money, don't know what it is, you might be in a relationship, whatever, and somebody gives you the money, that person is then going to be pulled into your pre-approval process if you do it within that time frame. If you do the deposit before you have to provide the documentation, it's fine. But if you do it anytime within that pre-approval duration, you're going to have to provide documentation. So if you're transferring it between another account that belongs to you that you're not necessarily using as income, then you provide them that information. That's pretty fine. But I'm talking that's going to be okay. But I'm referring to those who have other situations where you might be making cash deposits for whatever reason. That sometimes it can't be traced back to a person or to an entity where this money is coming from. It complicates the process.
Yeah, we had a prominent person here in Baltimore that got in trouble for that. Their family member gave them some money. They didn't document it, and they pretty much went to jail for that for some time. So it's funny that you brought that up. One more question, then then we'll go ahead and get on. This will which of the 3 scores do they use?
So basically what they do, they go off of your FICO score. So the FICO, they take all 3 scores and they use an algorithm and they come up with one general score to give you. They typically go off of the highest score, but that's what they use. They use the FICO score.
All right, got you. So that's the last question right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the questions off for a second, and we'll come back to them once we get finished doing the slides.
Well, the slides are over, so that's pretty much
it
for the presentation. So now we're open to questions. I know last week you had a few questions for me as well. You touched on anyone who had previously went through a foreclosure. How long could it be before they buy a home again? So the answer to that question is 3 years. So if you previously owned a home, the home was foreclosed on, you went through the entire foreclosure process, 3 years has passed. You now qualify and are eligible to purchase another home. To also touch on the bankruptcy, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, of course, we know that it's 2 different things. So with Chapter 7, you have to wait 2 years from when your Chapter 7 bankruptcy is discharged before you can buy a home again. And for Chapter 13, it's a 3-year waiting period. So you can, in any situation, you can always purchase a home again. You just have to make sure that the time has passed that they are requiring as far as waiting periods before you can apply for another loan to purchase a house again.
Okay, and like for another one, someone wanted me to ask for VA loans. If a person, if they had a dishonorable discharge, would they still qualify for a VA loan?
So the VA, they all absolutely could. The VA, they definitely have a list. I don't know them per se offhand. They have a list of qualifiers. So just because you were dishonorably discharged, they also have like I can't think of it off of the top of my head, but they do have there are other qualifiers that you were dishonorably discharged, but you met these other 2 things, so you qualify for the loan. So ultimately, the VA would determine whether or not you still qualify based off of your status.
Okay, so if that answers your question, then but if not, we'll look into it, and I will try to do a little research and see whatever else I can be able to find doing that.
If they have any questions, I'm not a lender, so I know I have a lot of information, but I don't know everything. So if you're not getting the answer to your question, please reach out to me outside of this. DM me, text me, call me, and I'll definitely get an answer for you.
All right, and we have the information up on the website. You have your phone number, got your email address, phone number, and the website. So we got everything here for y'all. If you need to get in contact, you have some questions other than if you can't wait to Wednesday, you can call Miss Lemon during the week. You can send email or something like that.
And no question to me is a dumb question. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me for anything.
Yeah, I learned that as a kid in school, used to be scared to ask the questions, like, oh man, they're gonna say I'm dumb and things like that. But now I ask and ask. Even if I know the answer, I'm gonna ask the question again just to make sure, just to double check, just to to reassure that I got it right. What they say, measure twice, cut once.
Right.
Exactly. So that's what we have to do. So let's see. I'm gonna try something a little different. So I'm gonna go by steps. So I'm looking to think I want to buy a home. Mm-hmm. So when I come into your office, so what is the first thing? I call you up and say, look, hey, I'm thinking about buying a home. Is it I want to come into your office? What do I need to bring, and what is the process like on the day? How will we get started? For a person that still want to, they already got the information, they got everything. They might still have a little bit of nerves. So what is how is it easy? Is it a long process? Or can you take us through it a little bit?
So initially, reaching out to me to want to purchase a home, I'm definitely going to sit down. We're going to have a conversation, kind of conversation about what you're looking for, what type of home you're looking for. We are definitely going to touch on your finances. I don't get too much into your financial business per se, but I do want to have an idea so that when I refer you to a lender, or I can even like sometimes having a brief conversation with an agent will let you know, like, before I reach out to a lender, let me take care of this first. You know what I mean? So if, we have a discussion and I feel like it's something that the lender can work with, I'll definitely refer you over to a lender. Sometimes the lender that I prefer to work with, he really does a good job. So if you're not quite there yet, just say, for instance, you reach out to me and you say, well, my credit score is a 580. 580 is not that far off from a 620. So it's like, okay, let me refer you to the lender and see what we need to do to get you to a 620. Sometimes people already know. And it may be something like one time I had a client and all she needed was like $600 to pay like a credit card down by like $600. Boosted her credit score up like 40 or 50 points. She was ready to go. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of having that simple conversation to kind of get an idea. I have a conversation, but again, I don't like to get too far into, okay, so what kind of house do you want? This, that, and the other. Like I prefer to I don't like to sell dreams. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't want to have somebody like, oh my gosh, she told me we gonna go look for this house as soon as I talk to this man and he tell me how much of a house I can afford, and that may not be the case. So it's like, I get an idea of what they're looking for, okay, 3 bedrooms, what area, city, county, because then I get an idea of, okay, they may qualify for this grant, that grant. And when I have the conversation with the lender and I do the introduction, hey, I have a person and this is what they're looking for, this is what they can do, etc. So I like to have a basic conversation, but the most important conversation that you have in the beginning of the process is going to be with the lender, because ultimately that's who has the say so as to whether or not you can buy a house or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like you say, you got to have all your ducks in a row. So let's say if I get a contract on a home, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't know. I'm thinking about this area now, and I'm thinking like, maybe some, I'm thinking like, well, the schools I'm here is not too good, or maybe too much. I'm here now is like, a lot of crime and area, things like that. Would I be able to back out the contract? And if I do, is there any penalties on backing out the contract?
You cannot. I mean, what a contract is a legally binding document. So once you give somebody your word and write and sign a contract that you're going to purchase that home, the only way to back out of that contract is if that, for whatever reason, I mean, things do happen. Just say the house doesn't appraise or the inspection reveals some major issues. But for those reasons, those are not reasons to back out of a contract. So therefore, I mean, the seller may let you out, but what happens is you lose your money. You know what
Okay.
I mean? You lose your deposit. You definitely are going to lose your deposit. Whatever amount of the deposit that you put down, you lose that deposit. And it's a possibility that they may sue you, like because they took their house off of the market for this amount of time, etc. They may not let you out of the contract. It is everybody's responsibility to do their research prior to putting a contract on a home. So if you know that the school is important for you, sorry y'all, here's my
Got the
if you
same thing.
know if you know that the school district is important to you, or that rec centers, or it needs to be convenient to whatever the case may be, then at the end of the day, that is not the seller's responsibility. Now there can be a situation where I haven't experienced it, but I know my broker has experienced it, where there was a contract on a home. They would get ready to go to settlement. It was a spouse and, a husband and a wife. The husband lost his job right before settlement. So when the lender did their final verification of employment and they told them that they didn't work there anymore, they had to let them out of the contract because the lender at this point is not lending, but they lost their deposit. You know what I mean? So different things come up, but these are things that some people don't have any control over, but at the end of the day, that contract still holds, like it still stands. So they took the deposit, they let them out of the contract, but they took the deposit. So
Yeah, exactly. So, like you say, so basically, if it's something dealing with concerns the home, or like you say, the appraisal, or something went wrong with the things like that, then it may be, you like a back out of it, but you can't have cold feet.
Right. So that those things are written into the contract. So
Okay.
there is a contingency that says, okay, if this home doesn't appraise, this is what the remedy is. Okay, if the inspection comes back, this is what the remedy is. But outside of those things, you are in total like complete breach of contract, and the sellers can handle it however they choose to at that point.
I got you. So like you say, you had a house on the market and you could have had it sold. You could have, you might have had another person lined up, but taking it off for you to, for you, now you lost out because you could have had someone else. Now you got to go back and put it back on the market and things like that. You
Right.
might have another mortgage. So that
Right.
is understandable. So once we passed there, we things like that. So on how, like you said, you like to get comfortable, you like to get to know your clients. So, what did you do, to relax, not saying to make person relax, or how do you feel, get them feel comfortable where as though like, yeah, this is, where I want to be. This is where I want to be at. I was having a little nerves at first, but now, I feel a little bit better because Miss Lemon made me, I'm good now. I'm not nervous anymore.
Check my reviews. It's like, let me stop. But anyway,
Check those reviews.
check my reviews. Ask about me. But at the end of the day, I honestly I try to be the most honest. I don't want to sell anybody a dream. Like I keep saying, I don't make anybody. Some things I just don't speak on. It's the thing, like, don't ask, don't tell. If you don't ask me about the neighborhood, and you sometimes I send my clients home, but they may send me a house that they found. If they are from Baltimore and they send me this house, if that's the house they asked to go see, I take them to see it. If this is the house they say you want to buy, that's what they want to do. I can't really tell them what to do and what not to do because everyone has different motives. So I just try to be as understanding as possible. But if they inquire and they ask me, I'm open and I'm honest about and upfront about it. You have some people that are, I have one person that they only want to buy in an area that is not where gentrification is coming, but it's not fully gentrified, so they know what
Yeah.
they're walking into. What can I say? If you want to, if this
Yeah,
thing you want to buy
exactly.
at, what can I say? They call me, they want to see a house there, or this is the area that they want to move. I send them whatever comes on the market in that area. It's nothing that I can say, but if it's somebody that it's just like, they ask me, well, what do you think about this area? And I'll tell them, well, from my understanding, this is a highly desirable area for these reasons. It may be less desirable because of these things, but you ultimately have to make that choice. And I make sure that they have everything that they need to make an educated decision. And that's what it comes down to. I don't force anybody into a house that they don't want to be in or anything like that. And some people is, oh, you need to, oh, this is a good house. This is a good deal. Don't you know what you're missing out on? I don't have time for that. That's just not, because I wouldn't want anybody to do that with me. You know what I mean? So I had patience. If they say this is, whatever the case may be, I sit down, I talk to them, I follow with them. Like I said, I get into kind of like their family life, what's important to you, what's most important to you. Do you plan on having kids? What about your grandkids? Or whatever the case may be, so that I know that when I find them a house or when we make the decision, that it's the best decision for them.
Yeah, because if a person come to you, but they don't have an idea kind of home they have, so you have to get to know the person and what they like, just to be able to find that house for them, because that's good part about being a salesperson or being a realtor, to get to know your client. You have to
Yeah,
know your
you
client.
have to know, you absolutely have to. And you have to, so one thing, a funny thing about me is, so some clients that may have been referred to me. So I had a referral client, and we kind of bumped heads on the phone when we had a conversation, but when we finally met in person, I don't know what it was about my energy, you know what I mean,
Uh-huh.
my aura, my approach, in a physical sense. And it was just like she instantly became my homegirl. So I think that, not seeing me and then finally putting a face and like me, I have my own thing going on. You know, I'm not formal, but I'm not completely,
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
yeah,
it's
like, so
you.
I'm in between. I just give you me. You know, my hair shaved on sides. I'm not, when you see my pictures, I'm not in a suit and like, that's not who I am anymore. So it's just, I'm on, they can relate to me when you find a client or agent that you can relate to, because again, that agent that wears a suit and they are more conservative may work for some people. I might not be her. I might not be the agent for you. So it definitely, you have to like know your client, and your client has to actually understand and feel who you are as well, enough to trust you. Like I said last week, like what I love about no matter what I tell my clients that I have right now, they listen to me. I can tell them anything. Like, we're gonna go around this corner and just run. They're not gonna ask me any questions. They're gonna hit the corner and they're gonna run. So it's just like, that's what means the most, is that they trust me. So, and I built that trust based on me just being completely honest, being transparent, and just, trying my
Exactly.
best to deliver.
That's how, and like you said, being a good salesperson. And one thing like about what Apple just started putting commercials on, but what they do was they would take video of their people and some people inside their stores and just videotape them and see how they interact with the phones and things like that, so they know and they cater to the person. Like, okay, they like to do these apps, so they ask questions. So that's how they do their advertising. That's how they come up with the apps and things like that, because they just watch, and you never would see an iPhone commercial or like things like that. You might see maybe one, but not like running concurrently and things like that, because they already know their clients. They know what they like, what they cater to, so they already know what they're going to give them. They're going to stand in line for 3 hours just to get their phone fixed. So it's all about knowing your client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm not going to say the relationship is always easy, because, like I said,
It's
you
never.
may find times where you disagree, where you have to agree to disagree, on certain things. But one thing that my clients do know, ultimately, if it ever comes to a point where they get frustrated with me, they know that I'm not going to tell them anything wrong. And it goes back to that trust factor. Like, I don't, if it's something that I don't know, I say I don't know. Let me ask and give you a call back. I don't lead them down a dark alley. I don't. So, I just try my best to make them feel as comfortable. I mean, this is the biggest purchase, probably more times than none, in most people's lives that they're ever going to make. So I don't want anybody to ever feel like they made the wrong decision. And sometimes does it come back and it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I never did that. Yeah, but it didn't have anything to do with me. They could commit. They even call me like, oh my, I will never buy from that guy. Again, it didn't have anything to do with me, so they can have that conversation with me, and that's
Yes.
just kind of it.
Yep. You done your part, because I just see, like you said, we going back to touch on a lot of not a lot of agents and things like, they be not saying money hungry, but they do anything for sales, so they don't really care about, like, this house is not what that person, this person, they do shady work, or like, you might have buyer's remorse. Some people don't care, they just want to get the commission. But it's always good to have someone that actually can, look here, I'm not worried about I'm worried about getting the money, but I'm also worried about returning customers, and my client is happy and good reviews and things like that.
And the thing is, coming into this, there are some people that know, but there are so many people who do not know. And I would never want anybody to take advantage of that. Like, oh, she doesn't know any better, so like, let's just get her in this house. Like, no, like, you just don't do that to people. I don't know if that's a good idea. I mean, you ultimately have to make the final decision, but it's not something that I would recommend. So if you make that decision, it's on your own. If you make your decisions, here's the pros, here's the cons. Think on it, sleep on it. Call me tomorrow. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about it. It's just talking through everything and having the patience to do that.
Yep, exactly. And like I say, you have to have patience on the home buying process, because it is a long, drawn out time. I don't really, unless exactly, have the ideal home that you want and everything, and you see this house, and you bam, that's what I want, you everything. That's about it. But a lot of times, if you don't have that home, it's going to take some time. I didn't see people look for a home for over a year and things like that. Trying to find a home. Or I didn't see a person trying to sell a home and had that house on the market for over a year, maybe 2 years and
Oh,
things like that.
sellers, that's a whole nother ball game, because the issue with the sellers is that there are some people who think their house is worth more than it really is.
Yeah, I
So
ran into that
that's the biggest issue with sellers, and they don't trust in the agent. So they try to sell a house on their own. They try to find all of these different avenues. But a seller, like, I do seller consults. We can always, to avoid all of that, I'm not an appraiser, so no, I can't come in and appraise your home, but we can definitely do a market analysis to find out what other homes in the area, what your home is worth in comparison to other homes in your area. You can find a happy medium, and then you list your home. So it's the sellers are a little bit different from buyers. Both, you still handle both with the same amount of care, because again, it's their investment. You have some people that are emotionally attached to their homes. So if you have to, walk them through the process of, like, breaking that attachment to get rid of the home for whatever reason, they have to sell it and move on. And that takes patience. That takes a special type of person to be able to get a person to walk away from the home that they may have raised all of their children in, and now they have to let it go for whatever reason. They have to move into a 55 and over community, whatever the case may be. Some people, you just have to handle everybody different, and that's just how it goes.
and and with selling this, the same way, like after a person already, they get that separate, they get separated from that home, and they really want to, they want to sell the home. Is it best to do the work inside the home, get everything up to par and things like that, or you might be crunched time for money and you might want to move out of state, or anything, or is it best to, or just sell the house as is?
Sometimes it depends on the condition of the home, and it also depends on the flip side, the condition. But then on the flip side, it's a numbers thing. So if you owe money on your home already, so you have an outstanding balance, you have a mortgage on your home. Your home might be worth less than what you owe on it. Where you gonna pull the money from to renovate it and then bring it back into the market? Maybe only to still break even. So sometimes it might be just best to sell. It just depends on a bunch of things, but it's definitely a numbers game. Sometimes you had people that may have bought their house back in 1970. It was only 30,000. They didn't pay for the house 3 times, refinanced it, paid it off again. They don't owe anything on the house, so they can afford to go and pull another 30 or 40 out to renovate it. And that means that the only thing they're going to owe is the 30 or 40 that they pulled out, and whatever they sell it for, they pocket. In that case, it makes more sense to renovate the house if you can pull money out and renovate it and sell it. But if it just depends on the situation.
Okay, I got you. So if you, like you say, you owe, if you owe more money on the house than really what it's worth, like you gonna be like basically breaking even and things like that. So that really, and I guess that put into a good factor as well.
Right. That's why it's always good. Like I said, the consultations cost you nothing to have an agent come in and let you know what's best. Don't go out and spend buku money getting your house renovated. You have a mortgage on the house, and then you really don't, like, it really, you just break even and you still walk away with no money. So you have to look at it. You have to look at the numbers. Like, I look at, when I do seller consultations like that, I want to see your mortgage statement. I want to see how much you own the house. Then I go in and I look at the house. Okay, we do a CMA and see what other houses in the area are going for. And then I can say, okay, well, if you decide to, what you can do to add X amount of value, clean your kitchen, put some new appliances in, put light fixtures in. It could be a few things, that I might make the recommendation of. Will that necessarily give them the value that they're looking for? Maybe, maybe not. But, that's what it comes down to. You absolutely have to do that consultation to find out exactly where and what makes sense, because it doesn't always make sense to fix it up and sell it. It could leave you owing the bank more money than you did initially. So
Exactly. I ran into that problem back in, this was, during, the so-called recession time. And I had a, first property, it was a condo, and say, okay, you know, it was pretty much, I had, you know, had a sweet loan on it and everything, went to go sell it. And I went to go use an agent instead of me, you know, using, you know, try to put it market on my own because I was selling it as is. And I would have made a little bit of money off of it if I just sold it to myself, you know, as working as the agent and things like that. But I basically was breaking even because I had to pay the agent their percentage. And it really didn't work out it wasn't worth it at that particular time because why would I put all this money to this property and then break even? You know, it wasn't not really even breaking even because I still would have been like in the hole. So it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't really worth it. So I just ended up sticking inside and hold it and staying there for a while. Stay there for, you know, for a few years later to once the market started to pick up.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, like you say, it's a touch and go. This market, the real estate market and buyer's market and the seller's market and all that stuff is like, it give you a headache. So especially if you're trying to do the selling, selling homes, I always say, you know, I want to get into it, you know, I'm, you know, try to, you know, do a little investing and things like that, but it's a headache. If a person is not, you know, I mean, you have to have patience, and it's very stressful.
And the market for investors, the market, like right now, being in a seller's market, being an investor, it definitely cuts into your bottom line. Not saying that there's not money out here to be made, but because everything is so, I don't want to say overpriced, but in a sense, like overpriced, you know?
Yeah.
But because the initial investment is overpriced, but on the flip side of it, houses are selling for more than they typically would as well.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the thing is, now, okay, you have those two factors. As an investor, now the main thing is time. So it depends on how quickly you can get that house turned over and back on the market to do your next project. So that's what you have to look at now as an investor. And in order to do that, you have to have a solid team of contractors. So investing, I mean, most of my clients are investors, honestly. So I work with them constantly, multi-units, whatever, you know, flips, whatever, land. I like that's who my clients are. So that's the thing, you know, like I mean, people calling me, they like, oh, we want you, what can you get me for 20,000? A shell, maybe. Shells right now are still going, like, I had a client that was in a bidding war for a shell that went for 60,000 a shell. Like literally, you walk in the house was framed, that was it. No, nothing was in there. So this is what we're up against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, so you have to be willing to spend in the investment world right now. You can't, it's not like it used to be where you could spend 10 or 15 and get this house and put 40 in there. Now you done made a quick 120, 130. It's not that market. But if you can stick it out, if you can partner with someone, okay, if you do have 15, go find yourself 3 more people that have 15 and make it work. If that's what you really want to do, and this is my recommendation, because it's like, you know, if you want to go far, you don't go alone. You got to go with people. So, you know, you build your team, you find you a nice contracting team. So that is definitely going to be, if it's not my topic next week, we definitely are going to have an investing one-on-one session. And it's going to be a lot of information, because that ultimately I would like to see, especially I really want to see the younger generation start making better decisions with their money and investing and buying into Baltimore. I can't force anything, but that's definitely, like, over the summer, it's like a few events that I'm actually working on. I don't know how I'm going to do it, because I'm totally outside of their world. I can't tell you who raps their songs or anything. So I don't know how I'm going to make the connection with them outside of my children, but I do. But I'm going to try my best. So I think I'm going to have, in the spring, I'm planning on having a hookah and learn. I don't smoke hookah, but, you know, that's what the kids do. So that's what, I think that's how I can get their attention, at least for 30 minutes, to have this conversation with them. And it's a starting point. So that's kind of, I just really want to get the younger generation into wealth building because some of them don't even realize, honestly, outside of money, how close and reach it is for them. If they just stick their arm out there, it's like really out
It
there. You know what
is
I
out
mean?
there.
So,
Yep,
yeah.
and that's what. And 2 weeks ago, I just brought. I was on Amazon looking for. I just brought a and what is stocks for kids, and it teach them the stock market. So I had her like maybe about 230 something pages in there. She said she's like on 134. I said when you get read it again,
Right.
read it again. I'll make sure like you can't get on that video game. Yeah, because stocks right now. I mean, if you look at it like I put like I don't really get into the stock market. I don't really know a lot about it. I just know a little bit about numbers, and I see certain stocks going up like 37%, like Lyft and things like that. I'm like, wow. I mean, you can make some money, and doing stuff. That's how a lot of people you're going to make. What I heard was you make your most money in real estate and in life insurance. And what's both of those? Real estate and life insurance is basically on the stock market.
Yeah.
So you have to learn.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. So that is kind of where I would like to go, just to get them into investing in purchasing, period. I don't know, like, I have a plan, but we'll figure it out and we'll talk
Put it
through it
together.
as the days go by. Yeah. So that's pretty much, that to me, that's what's important. Just the education part of it, no matter what age you are, just the education and knowing. So I'm trying, in this hour that we have, I try to give as much information as I can. But of course, ultimately, you schedule a consultation, we can sit down and talk all day about whatever, I can answer questions and we can discuss whatever concerns and questions you have about the home buying process. Because I like I said, I never want anyone to walk into this process blind. If I can help it, if I'm offering myself to you, please take advantage of the opportunity.
Exactly, because if you're spending $150,000 or more, whatever, on home, you want to be comfortable, and you have, you have to be comfortable. So I understand where you're coming. Yeah, went back out. Yeah, and I understand that's where you're coming from in that sense. And so we're going to try to like I say, you can't get into a lot of things in 1 hour. So you have give Miss Lemon a call if have other questions that you're still thinking about buying a home, but you don't you have some questions. Give her a call. She will feel free to talk to you, walk you through the process. Hopefully get you to your home, a nice home. Help go find a nice home for you and present you with your dream home. So anything that you have to say, if you look up on, on the website, on these podcasts that we have on YouTube, everywhere, her information is there. Like you say, she's, she's by that phone day and night. Basically, she's here to help you. So if you're looking at, buy a home, please call Miss Lemon at DL Sells Homes. It was a great week this week. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything.
Absolutely.
And we like I said, we trying to bring you the education. We trying to bring it to you guys. So if anything that y'all have, any questions, anything, hit me up on the inbox, and I'll present it next week. Or like I say, call Miss Lemon and she'll work with you. You can come schedule a sit down and come have a talk and things like that. So it was real nice this week. Appreciate everything. It's always good.
Thanks for having me. Here. God bless and good night.
And we up out of here. Peace, y'all.
We know all lives matter. We just need your help with Black Lives Matter. Why they talking just so much? And we don't hit nothing about Sandra. We just only want the real. Only just wanting that. Watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but her nephew can't just take her. How the police act like that? I thought they protected serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointing to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, Hunter stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray. They racing to the clock. I can't believe they killed Eric in the middle of the streets. NYC, now it's Minnesota. The shit they get for free, they getting me, they getting you. Man, they getting us for cheap. We done lost blood to these jails, and we got them 6 feet deep. Remember Philando Castile? Man, it's getting deep. Just remember that he's still underground. R.I.P. Yeah, they still whipping our ass like this shit was slavery. That's why I'm running like Malcolm, because Marty wanted peace. And the visions that I'm having, man, this shit ain't come for cheap. And every day I'm waking up, I'm trying to be a greater me. And I can see these other people having changes in their thoughts. So we point the guns in all directions of changes in our hearts. But we watch that man bag boys like shade on them streets. And we going against each other, man, that shit be looking weak. Chicago killing California, Philadelphia, can't forget Baltimore, the shit is looking out of order. Unforgivable losses, unforgivable chances, unforgivable visions, unforgivable answers. Forever know we gon' feel it, forever know we be damaged. And let you refuse to stand, I swear we won't manage. Why they talking just so much, and we don't hear nothing about Sandra. We just only want the real, only just one ass watching all this go down. Miss Jefferson through the window, I'm just wishing I could tell you, but a nephew can just tempo. How the police act like that? I thought they protect this earth. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, halt and stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray, they racing to the clock. Michael Brown would have been here. Should never went straight to that store. And then they picking on our youth. They know that we becoming more. Trayvon Martin walking down the streets. Zimmerman, you a whore. All we family, hope you get answers and then some more. Sorry, Amy Capriori. I ain't trying to be no judge. Don't say he was only 16 and it really gave him life. I want them free, and I want that shit tonight. This shit greater than what the vision. Yeah, it's fuck all politicians. They get thrown in all these murders. Fuck Donald Trump, he the villain. On the dealer, I just promise I never forget your struggle. They done came into your apartment after they shot you for nothing. Minnesota, I understand. I will not tell you not to ride too many of my people that felt pain. I feel it deep inside. We go much more than 40 acres, and that's me. Should've stopped the shit with Emmett Till, but this is what they do. Why they talking just so much? And we don't hit nothing about Sandra. We just only want the real, only just one ass. Watching all this go down, Miss Jefferson through the window. I'm just wishing I could tell you, but a nephew can just tempo. How the police act like that? I thought they protect and serve. They say we should stop the violence. Hell no, pointed to the cops. How they asking us to stop? George Floyd, halt and stop. Can't forget about Freddie Gray, they racing to the clock. And now Rashard Brooks, George Floyd, the bigger picture.
What's going on? So we got a new segment that's coming up on to you. Coming up, you guys, coming up on Tuesdays, 2 weeks now. On Tuesdays, we're gonna be empowering women. So we're gonna have an empowerment women session. It's coming to y'all. It's going to be real. It's going to be something different. It's going to be something nice. So just check it out. Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. We're gonna be empowering women, local women, talk about things like that. If you want to educate our women, things like that, come out and check up and just hit me on the email. It's going to be streets.talk29@gmail.com. Hit me up on the inbox. You hit me up on Facebook. You can hit me up on Instagram, Twitter. We all across the board. It's going to be Streets Talk Podcast. Like I say, we're going to be empowering women. It's coming up 2 Tuesdays from now at 8 p.m. Be there, be sharp, teach her, and we're going to teach her. Holla at your boy, Street Talk Podcast, and we up out of here. Peace.